Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back to music. All right, today you need to have a drum sound, something that you found that you can use for a drum. Remember last time I gave you some ideas. You could go grab a plastic bowl with or without the lid. Kind of like the sound with the lid, but either way works, a plastic bowl. If you have a box of Kleenex, that is a great drum sound. If you have a drum, that is great to use that as well. And then to play the drum, if you have a couple of pencils, I'd like you to get two things, okay? So 2 pencils. You could just use your fingertips. That would be fine. If you happen to have those tappers that we found earlier, you can use that. Okay, so if you don't have your drum sound ready, you need to pause the video and go get your drum sound, because I'm going to start right out with the drum sound today. When we find the beat together, we're going to be using the drum sound. So pause the video if you don't have your drum sound. Otherwise, I'm going to move this and I will be right here ready to go. Go get your drum sound. All right, here we go. We've got your drum sound. I'm going to use 2 purple pencils and my Tupperware bowl is going to be my drum sound. Let's see, do I like this or do I like this? I think I like that sound better. All right. So would you take whatever you're using, and you could use your fingertips if you want, and play your drum sound. Play it faster. Play it slower. Play it with one hand. Play it with your other hand. Play them both together. And show me rest position. That's right. And if you're using your hands, then your hands go on your shoulders. Okay, that's rest position. So boys and girls, we're going to start music today, finding the beat using our drum sound. And the music you're going to be listening to is from the Nutcracker. It's called the Overture. And overture, can you say overture? Overture. Overture. An overture is the first part of music that happens in a movie, in a musical, in a play, in a ballet. The very beginning, when they start, before the story really happens, they call it the overture. And I know you've heard this before. I like to say these words. They don't say these words, but I like to say them. I hear them in my head. Here comes the Nutcracker, he's running very quickly. Because the story of the Nutcracker is that he's marching and he's moving. Well, I'll tell you a little bit more today. But I hear those words when I hear this song. Here comes the Nutcracker, he's running very quickly. So get your drum sound ready. And here's a little bit of the overture. Do what I do, please. Do what I do. Here comes the Nutcracker, he's running very quickly. Here comes the Nutcracker, he's running very quickly. Here comes the Nutcracker, he's running very quickly. Just keep a beat, a heartbeat. Running very quickly. Here comes the Nutcracker, he's running very quickly. Let's tap our tappers together. And tap on your shoulders. You can use your hands if you're using your hands. Tap on your head. Okay? Back to your sticks. Tap softly on your drum sound. It's the beat, steady like your heart. Feel it getting louder? you're using. Here comes the Nutcracker, he's running very quickly. Here comes the Nutcracker, he's running very quickly. Right. You can set your drum sound down, boys and girls. I'm going to stop that one. It goes a little bit longer, and I didn't want to do all of that. It's a little bit long for music class today. But if you were in the music room, I would have done it all the way through. All right. I'm going to set my drum sound down and my purple pencils. Purple's my favorite color. And I want you to listen to a little bit of the story of the Nutcracker. Meaning, I'm just going to tell you. So there's lots of stories, versions, lots of different versions of the Nutcracker story. This is the one that I like to tell. So it's Christmas Eve, and a little girl named Clara is with her family, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa's, big family. And they have a giant Christmas tree, and they're all dressed up fancy schmancy, eating fun foods, talking, laughing, and they're getting ready to open their Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. Okay. Well, Clara waits and waits while everybody else opens their presents. They get dolls, and they get toys that move around like puppets, and they get clowns, and they get boxes of candy, and they get all sorts of fun things. And Clara's just waiting and waiting for her turn. Finally, it's her turn to open her present. And her uncle, who is a toy maker, has given her a very, very special gift. You know what it is, don't you? It's the Nutcracker. Look, I have a candle. I like candles. I have a candle that's a Nutcracker. Like a soldier Nutcracker. Anyway, that's not what Clara got. She got an actual Nutcracker toy. She loved it so much. She held it, she hugged it, she danced with it. When it was time to eat dinner, she sat it on the chair next to her. But Clara had a brother who was kind of naughty, and he really wanted that Nutcracker. He grabbed the Nutcracker from Clara and broke it. Oh, Clara cried and cried and cried. She was so sad. She put a bandage around the Nutcracker's face, his head, to help him out. And then at night, before she went to bed, she laid the Nutcracker under the Christmas tree, and she went to sleep. I'll tell you more of the story next time. Would you please stand up, and let's do the march like we did last time, all right? I'm going to pause this just for a second so it doesn't bump while I move it. Don't go anywhere. Here we go. Get ready to stand up at attention. Soldiers now. Stand up at attention, soldiers now. March. Stand up at attention, soldiers now. Stand up at attention, soldiers now. Sure, you're moving your arms and your legs. Stand up at attention, soldiers now. Stand up at attention, soldiers now. Little march. Can you say the words? Stand up at attention, soldiers now. Stand up at attention, soldiers now. March around the room, but listen for the captain. Do you hear him? Stand up at attention, soldiers now. Listen for the captain. Stand up at attention, soldiers now. 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 Last time. Get those arms moving. Good job, soldiers. You can sit back down. All right. So, in the story, after Clara puts the Nutcracker under the Christmas tree, she goes to sleep. And she's so sad because the Nutcracker was broken. But she dreams, she's so sad. But then she dreams that the Nutcracker comes back to life. And in her dreams, not only does the Nutcracker come back to life, but all the other toys that were under the Christmas tree come back to life. But there is also an army of mice that in her dream come and take Clara away. And she's captured by these mice, but the Nutcracker has become a prince, a soldier prince, and he's coming to save Clara from that army of mice. And that's where the march, stand up at attention soldiers, they're all marching to fight the army of mice, to protect and to save Clara. Now, we're going to do one more activity together. Do you remember doing this with the turkeys? Well, now the turkeys are gone, and I have 4 nutcrackers, don't I? All right. So, 4 nutcrackers, and they are wanting to stay away from the Mouse King, and they're wanting to save Sarah. So they want to stay up high, out of the way. This might sound like, hi, 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 hi. Would you do that with me, please? Hi, 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 hi. Would you do that by yourselves? One of the mice came, and this Nutcracker tried to get away, and he went down here. What do you think it sounds like now? Let me say it first, all right? Hi, low, hi, hi. Can you do that with me? Hi, low, hi, hi. Can you do it by yourselves? 3 nutcrackers are left up there. Well, Clara really only needs 1 nutcracker, but he doesn't want to get caught by the Nut King either. The Mouse King. But neither does this one. This one's going to go down. What do you suppose that sounds like? Would you let me do it first, please? Hi, low, hi, low. Would you do that with me? Hi, low, hi, low. Do it by yourselves. Good job. What if this Nutcracker also went down there? Can you think in your head, boys and girls, what would your voices sound like if you were singing this? Can you imagine it? All right. You think about what you think it is, and I'm going to do it. All right. Let me do it first. Hi, low, low, low. Is that what you thought? Is that the sound you heard in your head? Would you sing it with me, please? Hi, low, low, low. Do it by yourselves. Do you want this one to go down too? Okay. Low, 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 do it with me. Low, 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 do it by yourselves. That's right. So we have high and low voices. I am going to end music today with another brand new activity. It's not the Nutcracker. We'll get back to that next time. But this is about 2 best friends. Do you have a friend? Do you have lots of friends? Do You have a friend who's really special? The friend that you really like to do things together with because you like the same kinds of things? Sometimes we call that your best friend. Well, these two guys, there's no two guys here, there's just a mailbox. Oh. Well, the two guys in this story are best friends. Their names are Mr. Wiggle. This says Wiggle, that's his mailbox. And Mr. Waggle. They don't live together. That's why his mailbox isn't in this picture. Mr. Waggle lives on the other side of town. Mr. Wiggle lives here. And I'm going to let you watch a different Mrs. Aldinger tell you the story of Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. And I will see you in music next time. Stay here. In just a second, the other Mrs. Aldinger is going to tell you Mr. Wiggle, Mr. Waggle. Get ready to do this with her, okay? And I will see you guys in a couple days. Hi, boys and girls. I am going to teach you one of my favorite poems today. It's called Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. And there is the mailbox where Mr. Wiggle lives. Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle are best friends. They really like to hang out with each other. So here's our story for today. Would you please show me Mr. Wiggle? That's right, and show me Mr. Waggle. Yeah, they're best friends. Let's put them in their houses. Close their doors. All right, here we go. Hold your hands up. One day, Mr. Wiggle decided he was going to visit his Mr. friend, Mr. Waggle. So he opened his door. He popped outside. He closed his door. And he went to visit Mr. Waggle. He went up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down the mountain until he got to Mr. Waggle's house. He knocked on his door. He called out his name, Mr. Waggles. And he listened, but he didn't hear anything, and nobody opened the door. Mr. Wiggle was very sad because he really wanted to talk to Mr. Waggles, but nobody was there, so he went back home again. Up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down the mountain till he got back to his house. He opened his door. He popped inside. He closed his door. And he went to sleep. The next day, Mr. Waggles thought, I want to go see my friend Mr. Wiggles. So he went on a walk. But first, he opened his door. He popped outside. He closed his door. And he went on a walk. Up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down the mountain until he got to his friend Mr. Wiggles' house. He knocked on his door. He called out his name, Mr. Wiggles. He has a low voice. Mr. Wiggles. And he listened. But he didn't hear anything. Mr. Wiggles wasn't home. Mr. Waggles was very sad because he really wanted to see his friend, but nobody answered the door, so he had to go back home again. He went up the mountain and down the mountain, up the mountain and down the mountain, and up the mountain and down the mountain until he got back to his house. He opened his door. He popped inside. Pop, and he closed his door. And he went to sleep. The next morning, both Mr. Wiggles and Mr. Waggles really, really wanted to talk to each other. They had a new game they wanted to play. They had a new joke they wanted to tell each other. And they wanted to have lunch together. So they both opened their doors. They both popped outside. They both closed their doors. And they both went to each other's houses. They went up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down until they got to each other. They saw each other. They were so excited. Hi, how are you? And they talked and they talked and they talked and they talked. And then they played their video game, their new video game. They told each other a joke. Knock, knock. Who's there? Orange. Orange you. Orange you. Glad I didn't say banana. And they ate lunch. They had spaghetti for lunch. And they both slurped up their noodles. Finally, it was nighttime. And they knew they needed to go back home again. So they said goodbye to each other. Goodbye. Goodbye. And because it was night and it was dark, they wanted to be very careful. They slowly went up the mountain and down the mountain. And up the mountain and down the mountain. And up the mountain and down. So they got back to their houses. They opened their doors. They popped inside. They closed their doors. They both went to bed, and they dreamed happy dreams about their friend, Mr. Wiggles and Mr. Wiggle.